True healing begins the moment we remember we are made of light, not wounds. All healing originates from within. There's an external pH and an internal pH, but it's love that aligns them. Love is not just an emotion, but a frequency, a catalyst for restoration. It is the silent medicine coded into every cell, waiting to be awakened. And yet, too often, we underestimate the force we carry within us. I like to envision the beginning of Earth, a breathtaking equilibrium, shaped by a divine source, however you define it, God, the universe, or the great mystery. The world was whole, a canvas of perfect harmony. Then came humanity. We were entrusted with the most powerful gift, free will. But the message got distorted. We mistook dominion for dominance. We forgot that power was meant to be paired with responsibility. We replaced reverence with control, and we now live in the echo of that misunderstanding. But underneath the noise, beneath the programming, we are still reaching, longing to touch our original essence, our true humanity. A humanity that remembers that the power to heal never belonged to anyone else. It has always lived in us. That realization brought me to a framework I now live by, what I call the 5 sacred L's. The first is life. The second is love. Life without love is a flicker, not a flame. And love without life is a whisper in the void. But when the two meet, when love breathes into life, transformation begins. Think of a seed hidden in darkness for millennia. Alone, it waits. But when met with the warmth of love, sunlight, moisture, care, it opens. It becomes. Life and love are one continuum. Like mother and unborn child, deeply intertwined. The child doesn't yet know itself, but it feels everything the mother feels. Only with that first breath does the self individuate. That's when potential becomes reality. The third L is laughter. But let's be honest, laughter can be a double-edged sword. Laughter without love can mock, divide, wound. It can shatter trust and fuel conflict. But laughter wrapped in love, that is healing. It uplifts, it unites, it turns pain into release, and separation into shared joy. It's the soul exhaling. The fourth L is labor. Work done without love depletes. It becomes a mechanical act, draining the spirit, numbing the mind. But labor infused with love, that becomes devotion. It's the reason creators lose track of time. Why visionaries keep going even when the world isn't watching. Why I speak, why I write, why I serve. Because it's not just about doing, it's about becoming. And finally, the fifth L is listening. Listening without love is hollow. You hear the noise, but miss the meaning. It's like staring at a book without reading the words. But when you listen with love, you hear the pauses, the tremble in someone's voice, the unsaid truth wrapped in silence. You understand without needing to reply. You offer presence, not solutions. These 5 L's are not just concepts, they are practices, lenses through which we can see, heal, and navigate the human experience. They form the architecture of a conscious life, one built on connection, reverence, and depth. And so, as I continue down this path, I do not speak to lecture. I speak to remember, to return, to remind each of us that the journey toward healing begins not with fixing, but with remembering. Remembering that love is the seed, the soil, the sunlight, and the bloom, and that you already carry it all within you. The soul does not heal in silence. It heals in the presence of meaning. When people ask me what healing really means, I tell them this: healing is not the erasure of pain, not a return to some untouched version of ourselves. Healing is transformation, of pain into power, of wounds into wisdom, of suffering into understanding. And at the core of that sacred alchemy lies one universal energy: love. But to truly love, to love in a way that expands and liberates, we must also be brave enough to feel everything. Not just joy, not just beauty, but grief, rage, fear, longing. Because if we shut out pain, we shut out depth. We become numb. And healing cannot take root in numbness. It blooms through presence. That's what the 5 L's keep showing me. They aren't just poetic metaphors or philosophical ideas. They are living truths, living energies. They are the elemental building blocks of a life lived from the heart. And in my own life, through times of joy and darkness, through creation and collapse, they've become not just concepts, but companions. Let's return for a moment to the idea of labor done with love. It's so easy to mistake activity for purpose, to think that being busy is the same as being alive. We chase accomplishments, stack achievements, but are we nourished? Are we fulfilled? True labor, the kind that replenishes rather than depletes, arises from alignment, from resonance, from the deep inner clarity that says, "This is what I was made to do." This labor is not transactional, it's transformational. It's not about how many hours you worked or how many boxes you ticked. It's about how much of your heart you gave. It's about how you showed up, how you created space for something sacred to flow through you. You can feel this energy in the fingers of a gardener pressing seeds into the soil, in the trembling voice of a singer letting truth ring through melody, in the soft hands of a healer holding another with reverence. This is labor with love. It may tire the body, but it awakens the soul. And yet, even this sacred labor cannot flourish without the next L, listening. We are immersed in noise. The world is louder than ever. Opinions flood our screens. Words spill endlessly. But how often do we truly hear? True listening is not passive. It is not waiting for your turn to speak. It is presence. It is offering your full awareness without agenda. It is saying, "I'm with you, right now, I'm here." Listening without love is hollow. It skims the surface. But listening with love? It opens a portal. It says, "You are safe to speak. I will hold your truth." In that act of sacred witnessing, something remarkable happens. People begin to unfold, to exhale, to remember their worth. And here's the most beautiful part. As we learn to truly listen to others, we begin, perhaps for the first time, to listen to ourselves. We begin to hear the subtle voice inside, the quiet knowing that has waited patiently beneath all the noise. The voice that says, "You are enough, even now, especially now." That inner listening brings us home. It reconnects us to the essence we've always carried. It restores us. Because in the end, love is not just something we offer. Love is what we are made of. It is our breath, our foundation, our inheritance. And the more we live from that place, the more we act, speak, serve, and rest in love, the more everything around us begins to shift. Not because we fixed what's broken, but because we've dared to see it, to name it, to hold it with grace. Perhaps this is the ultimate healing, to be seen, to be heard, to be accepted, not after we've changed, but exactly as we are, to be loved anyway. That's the miracle, and it's available, always, within the space of a single breath, a single act of true listening, a single moment of love extended without condition. To recognize another soul is to remember the divine within yourself. There's a kind of moment that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand attention or arrive with fanfare, but it stays with you forever. Like the gaze between two souls, it may last only seconds, but in that silent exchange, something ancient awakens. something wordless, a memory that predates time itself. That's what happened to her when she looked through the train window and locked eyes with the man walking toward the crowd. A man in a simple cloth, staff in hand, surrounded by people, yet completely still. In that instant, there was no distance, no age, no language, just recognition. Love is often mistaken for passion, for intensity, for desire. But in its purest form, love is recognition. It's the quiet knowing. I see you, not your name, your role, your story, but you, the being behind the form, the eternal spark. And when that spark is seen, something shifts. Healing begins not because the pain is gone, but because the soul remembers it was never truly alone. That gaze, brief as it was, left a mark on her spirit, a soft fire that stayed lit even as the train pulled away. She didn't understand it then, not at 10 years old, but some part of her did, the part beyond reason, the part that knows. Decades later, the threads of that connection revealed themselves again, not in mystical visions, but in quiet moments of service. Her parents working beside him, not because they sought status or recognition, but because they believed in something higher, in dignity, in healing, in humanity. And isn't that the point of life? Not to accumulate achievements or chase validation, but to recognize and uplift the sacred in one another, to bear witness to the suffering of others, and instead of turning away, to step forward, to reach out, to remember. She learned that healing is not about fixing, it's about recognizing. And in recognizing the divine in others, we touch the divine within ourselves. There are countless souls who walk through life unseen, not for lack of beauty, but because we forget to look. We avert our gaze. We numb ourselves to discomfort. We rush past the moment. But love asks us to stop, to soften, to look again. Recognition is not grand, it's not loud, it's not performative. It's a glance, a smile, a presence. It says, you are not invisible, you are real. You are light. And when we live like that, when we dare to see others fully, we become part of a quiet revolution. A healing that ripples outward in ways we may never see. Not because we're trying to change the world, but because we're finally present in it. Her story is not about fame or legacy. It's about love that lingers, recognition that transforms. It's about remembering that the smallest act, offering a flower, meeting a gaze, listening with your whole being, can echo across a lifetime. And maybe that's the only legacy that truly matters. To love, to witness, to remember, to be fully, fiercely, luminously human.